My name is Rebecca, and I'm really excited because I get to do the two things that I love the best, talk about museums and read you a story. Today we're going to read Rosie, a Detroit Herstory, written by Bailey Sisoy Isgro and illustrated by Nicole LaPointe. Rosie, a Detroit Herstory by Bailey Sisoy Isgro, illustrated by Nicole LaPointe. Published by Wayne State University Press in Detroit. A world war and a president's decree began a quest in which women were key. Heroines emerged that no one expected, young women building the unprecedented. Across America, women showed their might. Rosie the Riveter was born in this fight. And in Detroit, where battles never waged, they helped win a war and saw a nation changed. This true story starts before most women had careers, and a world war occupied nearly everyone's fears. In April 1939, the Germans crossed over Poland's territory line. The Nazi invaded. "We have to help out," yelled President Roosevelt without any doubt. But as England and France both entered the fight, Americans suffered from nearness of sight. Our oceans protect us. We're so far away. Their isolationism no one could sway. With Churchill calling, so desperate for aid, Roosevelt struggled to get his war plan made. Congress simply would not get on board with the thought. He had to negotiate without being caught. In back rooms, there was born a political deal. We'll trade boats and airplanes for a real estate steal. With that quite clever scheme, Lend-Lease was enacted. Now, U.S. war material could be crafted. Foundations for airplane factories were laid, their production increased, more and more were made, and as the newspaper published frightening war scoops, Congress still refused to send American troops. Oh, the German Luftwaffe can never be caught. Building planes means workers will have to be taught. But Detroit answered back with a resounding cry. "We'll all do our very best. We'll try and we'll try." Detroit knew how to build and how to build fast, with knowledge of machinery that was vast. To build equipment at never-before-seen speed, the auto industry needed to take the lead. Lend-Lease ensured the alleys were not overrun until a sad surprise in 1941. On December 7th, early in the morning, Pearl Harbor was ambushed without any warning. Hundreds of airplanes led the Axis attack. The U.S. Navy was left battered and cracked. World War II was declared and everything changed. A nationwide war draft was quickly arranged. Off to the war, the men of Detroit soon marched. At home, blue coveralls were ironed and starched. Bandanas were tied around victory curls by new factory workers, women and girls. From family bars to the mom and pop shops, women took over the jobs and managed the crops. Ladies kept the lights on and the open signs hung, running businesses while the men were off far flung. Bright-eyed women were plucked from local high schools and automotive secretarial pools. They were tested for aptitude, measured and weighed, sent off to training class without being delayed. Now that the fires of war and industries were lit, the women of Detroit declared, "We can do it." The women's brave reputation began to expand, so songwriters teamed up with the Kay Kaiser Band. The group wrote a hit song that coined the women's names, catapulting their war efforts to global fame, bestowed with a nickname that's still with us today. Rosie the Riveter earned her factory pay. Top brass needed a place to oversee all. Somewhere in Detroit, something big and quite tall. The Guardian Building gave renter reduction, becoming the center of wartime production. From the Art Deco building, orders were spitting as all normal auto production was quitting. Not a single civilian car would be made until the war ended with a victor's parade. From Liberator bombers to Sherman tanks, massive battleships to machine gunner cranks, bullets by the millions and bombs by the ton. The women of Detroit helped get it all done. With a welding torch and a riveting gun, Rosie's invented new ways to get the work done. Women retrieved parts quickly on roller skates. They used pulleys and gears to stack heavy crates. The smallest would climb inside airplane wings, attaching the rudder, steering, and flap strings. They worked all night shifts without saying a word, even while practice air raid sirens were heard. Now, off the Highland Park Ford factory floor rolled the Rolls-Royce engines that made the planes soar, shipped to assembly at a new Ford endeavor, Willow Run, the world's largest factory ever. A bomber an hour was Willow Run's goal. As the Rosies worked hard with heart and with soul, the Ladies' Air Corps was the best of the best, putting B-24s through every flight test. Rosie's image graced the Saturday Evening Post, painted by Norman Rockwell and seen coast to coast. Women war workers each had their own unique name, but thanks to strong Rosie, their labors found fame. Rosie's women war workers were an exciting new breed. On her their lives depend, was Rosie's solemn creed. Her efforts kept the hopes of the Allies alive until one fateful day in 1945. May 8th brought Germany's unconditional surrender. After millions of man-hours, regardless of gender, many lives were shattered, losses deeply felt. Across the world, families grieved and they knelt. But among the great heroes who won World War II were Rosie's war workers, whose legend only grew. Troops returned to Detroit through the train station, men excited to come back to their home nation. But now the Rosies, who built all the planes and warships, were fired from factories and handed pink slips. Women found that as soon as the men had returned, their manufacturing knowledge seemed to be spurned. Some women were eager for a regular pace. Others wanted to get right back into the workplace. They'd spent 4 long years earning their own paychecks, and they couldn't accept that now they were the wrong sex. Today, when you walk onto a factory floor, you'll find more women than ever before, because deep in the souls and the hearts of each one rests the enduring victory all Rosies won. Thank you for coming to the Detroit Historical Museum with me today. We're here in our exhibit called The Arsenal of Democracy that tells the story of the Rosies and all of the heroes of World War II. I hope that you'll come and visit us here at the Detroit Historical Museum soon. Thanks so much. Good to see you today.